At the start of the movie, we see something soaring up in space before it makes its way into Earth's surface. It strikes a lighthouse and soon starts to emit a mysterious glow. The film opens in a facility where a biologist named Lena is in a containment cell speaking to men in hazmat suits, while a large group of people are gathered outside listening in. Another man named Lomax is questioning Lena regarding a recent mission in which only she has returned. Lomax says she and her team were gone for months, which felt like days or weeks to Lena. She confirms 2 of her teammates are dead, while the fates of the other 2 remain unknown to her. She has no idea what she just experienced. She decides to recount her story starting nearly 2 years before her mission. Lena works as a professor at Johns Hopkins, teaching her class about a cancer cell that appears to multiply. Her colleague Daniel invites her to a barbecue at his house that he's throwing with his wife, but Lena says she prefers to paint her bedroom. Daniel says it's not disrespectful to Cain's memory for her to spend time with others, but Lena still declines the invite. Lena is still hurt over Cain's disappearance. It has been over a year since her husband Cain went on a mission and never returned. However, as she is painting her room, Cain mysterious appears at the door and Lena tearfully hugs him. Cain appears disoriented and cannot recall any details of his mission or how he returned. Cain takes a drink of water and Lena notices blood on a glass of water after drinking. The film cut to Lena riding with Cain in an ambulance to the hospital. During the ambulance ride, government agents intercept them, sedate Lena, and separate her from Cain. Lena wakes up and finds herself in a compound formed by an organization called the Southern Reach. She meets a psychologist, Dr. Ventris, who tries to assess her, but Lena is more concerned about her husband. She informs Lena that Cain is in the facility, gravely ill with multiple organ failures and massive internal bleeding. Ventris then reveals a massive expanding wall of shimmering light surrounding the crash site, which formed around the area surrounding the lighthouse over the last few years, and it is called the Shimmer. The Shimmer had been expanding for 3 years, swallowing everything in its path. Many attempts to investigate it has ended in failure. She then reveals to Lena that Cain was part of the expedition sent into the Shimmer. Cain is apparently the only person to have returned from the Shimmer, as his whole team was reported as missing or dead. Lena then visits Cain, who is unconscious and on life support. She recalls their happier times before his mission, filled with laughter and affection. Ventris offers Lena the option to return home, but Lena chooses to stay with her husband. Later, Lena meets other scientists working on the Shimmer project, Anya, Radek, and Shepard. They share their research findings and theories, revealing that people inside the Shimmer either died or went insane. Lena visits Cain again, promising to help him. She pleads with Ventris to allow her to join the expedition, explaining her desire to find a way to help her husband. A few days pass and the team embarks on their expedition into the Shimmer. They cross the shimmering barrier only to find themselves engulfed in darkness. Lena in a tent dream of her affair with Daniel, a secret she keeps hidden from everyone. When she awakens, she finds herself with the other scientists inside the Shimmer, unable to remember crossing. The land is comprised of mostly plant-based organisms. After 4 days, the team appears to have no memory of how they got there. A lot of their equipment, including their GPS, doesn't seem to work there. They continue further into the Shimmer using a wristwatch to navigate and documenting their progress and findings. Lena observes peculiar, mutated plants, all different species growing from the same branch while collecting samples. They see a small shack by a river and head towards it. Something pulls Radek into the shack and nearly takes her underwater until Lena goes in to save her. They discover that the attacker is a mutated alligator emerging from the water. It crawls toward the team until Lena shoots it dead. They then inspect the inside of its mouth and find that the gator possesses shark teeth, suggesting that there may have been some kind of crossbreeding occurring within the Shimmer. After taking sample from the animal, the team find 2 boats around and ride across the lake and heads further towards their destination. Lena rides with Shepard in the same boat and tells her how she and Cain were former army soldiers, and she tells Shepard that Cain was killed in action. Shepard tells Lena that she lost a daughter and also reveals things about the rest of the team, like that Thorson is a recovering addict and that Radek had been cutting her arms. Shepard adds that nobody seems to know much about Ventris. The team stumbles upon the ruined headquarters of the Southern Reach military base, where Lena notices more mutations and tumors on the walls. They discover the belongings of the previous team, including a USD card. The footage on the USD card reveals Cain cutting open the stomach of one of his teammates to reveal some kind of mass slithering inside in place of his organs. The team debates whether the video is real or a hallucination. As the team moves further, they find the room from the video complete with a knife in the water and mutated soldier fused to the wall. The team starts to become tense over their discovery. They express discomfort, but they have no choice but to spend the night there. Lena wakes up in the middle of the night and examines a cell sample she gathered inside the Shimmer under a microscope. She sees the cell undergoing mitosis, but not like a normal cell does. She later talks to Ventress, who suggests that Cain went on the mission due to a self-destructive need, something which she believes is hardwired into all human DNA. Amid the conversation, they hear a strange noise outside. Upon investigation, they discovered that something appears to have break through the perimeter fence of the facility. Lena watches as Shepard investigates, only to be grabbed and carried off by a large bear-like creature. Roddick and Anya later join them, only to find out that Shepard disappeared while they were sleeping. They hear Shepard screams in the distance as a fearsome, mutated bear drags her into the forest. In the morning, the team deliberates their next move. Roddick and Anya want to return, believing they have enough evidence of the soldiers going mad. Ventress, however, insists on continuing to the Lighthouse to fulfill the mission objectives. Lena agrees with the latter plan, reasoning that they're already too deep into the Shimmer to risk another journey through the forest. They proceed forward with their journey. As they walk through the forest, they come across something that makes them stop. It is Shepard's shoe. Lena insists on searching for her to confirm her fate. She ventures deeper into the forest, witnessing bizarre phenomena like synchronized antelopes. Eventually, she discovers Shepard's mangled body lying by a tree. She returns and breaks the news of her death to the rest of the team. The team continues walking and finds an area outside a house overgrown with plant structures that are formed to look like human bodies. Roddick theorizes that the Shimmer is scrambling the DNA of everything in there, which includes the plants, animals, and humans. In the house, Anya notices movement under her skin, but keeps it to herself. They then set up camp in the house for the evening. During the night, Lena examines her own blood under a microscope, observing shimmering cells. Later that night, Lena awakens to find Thornton holding her gun in her face before she knocks Lena out. Lena wakes up to find herself tied to a chair, along with Roddick and Ventress. Thornton has Lena's locket and realizes Cain is her husband. She has become paranoid and aggressive, and also suggests that Lena killed Shepard. Just then, they hear what sounds like Shepard crying for help. Thornton runs to find her, but instead the bear creature, which has a skull face, emerges and stalks the women. The noises it makes are Shepard's dying screams for help. Thornton runs back in and tries to shoot the bear, but it attacks her before tearing her throat and jaw out. Roddick breaks free and shoots the bear to death. The next morning, Ventress decides to leave for the Lighthouse herself, believing they are all disintegrating due to the Shimmer. Roddick finds roots and leaves growing out of her arms at a rapid pace. She tells Lena that she realizes the Shimmer just refracted DNA and the signals on their equipment as opposed to simply distorting them. Lena tells Roddick that the Shimmer is within her, and Roddick believes it will soon affect everyone. Roddick wants to embrace the change, accepting her self-destructive tendencies and scars, and she walks into the forest. Lena tries to follow but finds only people-shaped plants, which presumably she has been mutated into a plant structure. Lena crosses the forest alone, grieving over her failed marriage. Eventually, she reaches the coast and discovers the lighthouse surrounded by human skeletal remains, sprawled all over the sand and large crystal trees. The lighthouse is covered in some kind of plant-like material. Lena enters and finds a charred skeleton sitting against the wall and a camera pointing at it. She watches the video and sees Cain sitting down as he holds a phosphorus grenade while talking to someone behind the camera. He is heard saying he has no idea if he really is Cain or who he was this whole time, as his sense of reality appears to have been warped. He asks the person behind the camera to take care of Lena before he pulls the pin on the grenade and blows himself up. The person behind the camera walks into view and is revealed to be some kind of clone of Cain, the same one that made it back to Lena. Lena goes further into the lighthouse and finds Ventress, whose face is twisting and contorting. She tells Lena that the Shimmer is of alien origin and that it is preparing for an annihilation. Ventress's body then dissolves into a bright form of light that morphs and distorts itself. It pulls in some blood off a cut on Lena's face before it creates a humanoid body for itself. It starts to mimic all of Lena's movements. Lena strikes it and it hits Lena back. Lena attempts to run out, but the entity grabs her and continues to mimic her. She finds another phosphorus grenade and puts it in the entity's hand. She takes the pin out and leaves as it blows up. The entity starts to transform into Lena as it is consumed by fire. It walks around until the rest of the lighthouse goes up in flames, which leads to the trees outside to collapse, and the rest of the Shimmer begins to disappear. The movie then cuts to the facility where Lena is being questioned. Lomax asks what the Shimmer's purpose is, but Lena believes it seeks change and evolution rather than destruction. He confirms that the Shimmer is gone, but Lena still has no idea what happened to her. Lomax tells her that after the Shimmer disappeared, Cain woke up hours later and is lucid. Lena goes to his room to talk to him. She asks him if he really is Cain, and he says he doesn't know. He goes to embrace Lena, and we see both of their eyes start to glow and change colors.